We were blessed to have a wedding here in this room for the first time yesterday. That was fun. Yeah. And it's really kind of the wedding season, you know. Typically, they want to get married in the summertime, hopefully when the weather's nice. And it's a joy to support young people, old people. Lots of people getting married these days that aren't necessarily 20. Yeah, it's fun to be around them. You think about what's ahead for them in their new life and all the dreams and joys that they're holding in their hearts. And I'm just sure that they're going to have those wonderful, beautiful experiences. And not here to predict anything, just speaking a little bit from experience, is that sometimes later in life, not right after the wedding for sure, we do have the honeymoon phase, right? But at some point, we might run into a few challenges in our coupling. And honestly, probably one of the most common things that couples struggle with is money. That's one of the leading causes of arguments and the number 2 reason for divorce. Did you know that? Money is the number 2 reason for divorce. We won't talk about what's first. But it's common, you know, when you're a couple that you each have different ways of handling your money. Some of us are spenders and some of us are savers, right? Or, you know, I have this picture of, oh, somebody's laughing like, yes, I am that. Some of us struggle with living beyond our means. It's just can't seem to help ourselves. But that winds up with a lot of debt. Sometimes we can't get out of that debt, ruins our credit rating. That creates stress on the marriage. And it's possible that we never learned how to even talk about money growing up or to do that in our marriage, how to talk about money. Here's what I learned about money growing up. Me at the department store with my mom. Mom at the cash register paying for my new Easter dress and my new Easter shoes and my new Easter hat, back in the day when they used to do that. And here's my mom. Poor daddy. That's what I remember about how you handle money. You spend it, but then you say, poor daddy. So, you know what? It's not just married couples that have issues with money. We all have an opportunity to deal with money in our lives and get over a hump or deal with the stress of it, especially right now. Have you looked at what's going on in our country right now when it comes to money? Just in 1 week of news, not that I try and listen to the news regularly, but this tells you how much of it is happening right now, that major bank stocks plunged. There's a 9% increase in inflation now. There's a 10% decrease in the stock market since the beginning of this year. There is an increase in interest rates, especially if you're trying to buy a house. Your mortgage rates have gone up a bit. And this one is the one that really surprised me. Retirees are going back to work to kind of shore up their 401ks. That's a big deal. Although I got to say, I've been saying for a long time, to retire at 65 is like, okay, we now typically have another 30 years to go, so you might want to rethink the when you retire thing. Okay, that's a different subject. So it sounds like all this material lack that's going on in the world is what's robbing us of our abundance. You know, if we can't have an abundant life, it's because all of these major things that are going on in the world. And I'm going to offer today that that is not the case. That actually, it doesn't start out there. How we experience money is how we experience money in here first. And it has to do with either our ignorance about the power of our imagination and what we can actually do with that when we face struggles, or it has to do with our laziness, because we might know that we actually could dream something up, but we just don't do it. And for most of it's our negative beliefs about money that we've been carrying around for a long time in our life. And when we hold those beliefs and they become strong enough that they create feelings of negativity when we think about money, then just know that we're using a divine law against ourselves, which we'll talk more about today. But all of those issues we can actually control. We have the ability to undo the stress of financial insecurity in the world for ourselves. And actually, this is where I want to bring in the idea of being a faith keeper, because not only can we help change what's happening in our own life regarding abundance, but we can help support change for the world around us. If you've been listening for the last few weeks, I've been talking about a term, faith keeper, which actually came out of the Native American tradition. So let me just repeat for you up here on the screen from Native American Orrin Lyons. He says, under extreme conditions, if every single tribe member stumbles into fear and doubt, anxiety, worry, and pain, the faith keeper maintains peace and calm, spiritual enlightenment and understanding. The faith keeper is looked upon as the mainstay to the I am presence, to the God presence, to Great Spirit or Creator. So a faith keeper is not someone who's focused on amassing a fortune when they're holding a space for divine abundance. They're holding that space of the very nature of what divine abundance is. And it happens by knowing the truth about how the universe works. They move into that place of authority and really being a gift to the world because they're aware of the infinite good that's all around them that most of us can't see. And Jesus was trying to explain this up here on the screen from the book of John when they were trying to get him to eat something because they thought that he must be hungry by now. And he said, oh, I've got food that you don't even know about. He said, you guys talk about how it's 4 months until the harvest. But he said, I tell you, open your eyes and look at the fields. They are ripe for harvest. So, of course, he's not talking about literal fields. He's talking about spiritual fields of abundance. They're always ripe for harvest. And that's what a faith keeper knows. When they're standing in the presence of divine abundance, they are holding a consciousness of that. They actually become it. Can you imagine what it's like to become abundance in your consciousness? What must that be like? We're going to talk about that today. To become it, to feel abundance in your being. Meditate on that one. That'd be a good one to meditate on, to feel abundance in your being. And as we do that in this current shortage that seems to be very present around us, it's an opportunity for us not only to bring our own personal world into alignment with abundance, but also start to become an energy generator for the people around us, for the collective consciousness. Because when enough of us hold the thought, the belief, the feeling, it does affect the world around us. As a matter of fact, the way that the economy looks right now is described by Eric Butterworth this way. He said, the economy is little more than a barometer that registers the highs and lows of consciousness. Think about that. Every time you see the stock market dropped 1,000 points today on the fear that, and then they recite all the things that might happen. And as we hold that belief, we start ditching our stocks, right? Okay. So he says, highs and lows of consciousness, wherever 2 or 3 are gathered together in an interaction of minds, a very real energy force is projected into the world. This is why we need faith keepers now for divine abundance. And you are all called to be that. If you're here at the sound of my voice, that means I think you're prepared to become a faith keeper for divine abundance. And of course, I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, I don't know how. So that's why I'm here. I'm going to offer some suggestions today to point you in this direction. There's actually 3 things that we don't have to do anything to make happen that a faith keeper of divine abundance just knows. They're already done. And the first thing is that we live in a universe of abundance. It's designed to provide for everything in it. Like a mother with her children. The universe that we live in is designed to provide for every need because you and I live in this universe. We've got a provision made all around us and within us, ready to go. Doesn't that just make you want to take a breath and go, oh, good. I bet you thought that your provision actually comes from your employer or your 401k or your alimony. No, it comes from an all-loving universe that provides your good. And that's what a faith keeper knows. It knows, first of all, the omniscience of God, which is the all-knowing, the all-wisdom, the one mind. Because we know that to experience abundance, we need some instruction, right? Well, guess what? That divine wisdom has already got it and is already offering it to us. So we open up to that. That's what a faith keeper does. We stay open to that inner wisdom. And we also know that the omnipotence of God is the one power in the universe that's designed to work everything out for good. Its nature is love. That must make you feel good. It's like knowing that somebody's got your back all the time and that you don't have to have all the details about how to make this work. You just simply give thanks for the one power that's working for your good and everybody else's. And it's not preferential treatment. It's treat everyone the same. God's sun rises on the evil and the good. It's constantly giving of itself to all of us. So that is something that we don't have to worry about. We live in a universe of all provision. I live in a universe of all provision. Will you say that with me? I live in a universe of all provision. How's that feel? Just notice that. Secondly, a faith keeper knows inherently that there is a provision that comes not from the material. It's the only provision, really. We think, as I said, that the provision we seek is most often money. However, it's not. I know this is going to sound weird, but it's actually invisible. Your provision is invisible. And you're probably wondering how you spend something that's invisible. But first, just know that it is. Know that it exists. It's just as infinite as the universe is. And this infinite provision of divine substance, this spiritual energy, is the omnipresence of God. And there is nothing that you will eat or spend or live under or give away that didn't first begin as this spiritual, sparkling, invisible energy that is always available to us. One of the ways that our co-founder from Unity, Charles Fillmore, described it was that substance cannot be seen, yet it is more substantial than matter. Its nature is to stand under matter as its support and only reality. It does not fluctuate with market reports. It does not decrease in hard times, nor increase in good times. It cannot be hoarded away to cause a deficiency in supply and a higher price. It's ever the same, constant, abundant, freely circulating, and available. Good news, right? So it's here, it's ready to be used, and it actually expands whenever you put a desire or a match, whenever you put a demand on it. The substance offers itself repeatedly, increasingly, for whatever the demand is. That's why a faith keeper of divine abundance can watch someone else win the lottery and feel joy for them because they know that's just one demonstration of an infinite supply. It's a reminder that there is so much good here that there's plenty for all. And so they start with that attitude of joy and realizing that their success cannot deplete mine. That's comforting, isn't it? Just when you think they got the promotion, then there's nothing for you. That's not a faith keeper's point of view. If that can happen, oh, how much more good is there out there? And the third thing that a faith keeper knows is that we are working with a universal law that we don't have to create. It just knows what to do. A universal law is working every time you hold a thought that generates energy. That's what our thoughts do. They are energy, and it turns out they create more of the same kind of energy because of this law. And it's that energy that we need to begin to take the invisible substance and turn it into something visible. So I say that the way that the universal law works is it brings more to you of what you are. The universal law brings more to you of what you are. And I'm not saying what you are like, I'm a nurse, I'm a parent, but what you are radiating out as an energy being. What kind of energy are you radiating out to the universe? Positive, negative, lack, infinite supply? What are you generating with your consciousness? Because that's where all of our supply begins, is in our ideas and our thoughts. And the law just tags onto those and brings you more of it. When was the last time that you dreamed about a vacation? I tried to find a place to go on vacation, and as soon as I opened my mind to the possibility of going anywhere, my mind just started drawing in all these different ideas, and I would weigh them and say no, yes, and I would narrow it down. But let's say that you're looking for some place to go, and Hawaii seems to be the most common place that people think of for some big fun vacation. But maybe this isn't your gig, and so you pass that one by, and you keep calling in another idea until it's like maybe Florida. It's kind of hot and sticky down there. And what about the woods, northern woods, where it's cool and it's green? Maybe Wisconsin. And then you sit on Wisconsin for a minute and you bring in another idea of what kind of place would I stay in? Would it be a cabin, be a hotel? Would it be on a lake or out in the woods? Think about that for a while. Still, one of them feels good. And then it just keep tagging on, right? You've been there, right? You've done that. That is universal law working. It's the law that's attracting more thoughts into your awareness because you're holding space for it and you're feeling a connection to it. So that law is working all the time, and there's absolutely nothing that you need to do. As you give, so shall you receive, Jesus said. That's how it works. So those three things are happening all the time. You've got a loving, giving universe with infinite substance and a law that's pulling things in for you that you don't have to work so hard at it. It will handle the details. So that's part of being a faith keeper of divine abundance, is you just know those things solidly in your being so that you are radiating yes to your good. Now, there's three things that you too are called to be, and you are in charge of these in order to be this faith keeper. And one of them is to recognize what you want. This, again, has to do with your focus, where you put your attention, what you want. In these difficult times, it is so much easier to focus on what the news is telling us than it is what you would prefer it to be. So just like the man, lame for 38 years, laying by a healing pool, where the deal was that angels would come and stir up the water and the first one in would experience a healing. He'd been waiting for 38 years, hadn't gotten into the pool. So when Jesus comes along and says, come on, man, do you really want to be made whole? I mean, you had 38 years to get this done. He's basically questioning what the man's desire really was. And you know what the man said? He started talking about all the problems. I didn't have anybody to help me, and I can't walk, and everybody gets in ahead of me. See, that's focused on what you don't want, okay? So it's no wonder he made it into the pool. But there was something about Jesus, a faith keeper for divine abundance, who was just standing there radiating yes to your good. Stand up and walk, and he did. That's the power that we have available to us. The things he did, we can do also, Jesus said. So what do you want? I don't want to hear any more talk about what you don't want. And as a faith keeper for divine abundance, your job when you hear someone whining about the state of the world, that is your reply 100% of the time. What do you prefer instead? Say that with me. What do you prefer instead? And yes, you can say it to yourself. What do I prefer instead? Because it has to start with us. What do I prefer instead? Get our mind off of what's not working and put it on what we want. So in this case, we would prefer that everyone can have their needs met. It's as simple as that. You don't have to know the details, not that so-and-so gets the job or that so-and-so buys the right house or so-and-so gets the loan. It's just that everyone has their needs met. That's a simple desire, easy to remember. takes the load off, that you don't have to figure out how to make it happen. But know what you're focused on instead of what you don't want. Because every creation that becomes tangible starts as an idea. It's not the things or the material goods that's primary, that's secondary. It's your thoughts about the things, about the availability of the things that are primary. And more importantly, your thoughts about God and how this universe works. So get your desire settled in your heart. And then secondly, use your power of imagination to see the end result. Again, not needing to actually figure out what the specific result will be, but more about what it will free you up to be. What will your desire free you up to be that you couldn't be before? Just picture yourself going through life with ease and joy, and every time you turn a corner, it's something that allows you to be who you want to be. Picture your day going in such a way that you're just constantly revealing God's infinite good. You're knowing that the universe is giving, and you're gratefully and joyfully receiving from this universe. Use that picturing power, seeing the end result of who you are, in order for your feelings to start sprouting up, because that's the third state, is paying attention to what you feel. Did anybody see any of the Harry Potter movies? So you kind of know what I'm talking about? Oh, dear. Well, okay, I'll just explain it in such a way that it doesn't matter whether you saw it or not. So imagine that there's children that are born with magical powers, and they all wind up in a school together. And it's like any other school. They got football, only it's called Quidditch, and they fly on brooms. And one of the boys, Harry Potter, was just awarded a little bottle called Liquid Luck because he did so good in a certain class. And if you drink this Liquid Luck, then for the next several hours, everything you put your hand to is going to turn out fantastically. And his best friend was just chosen as, it's like the goalie of Quidditch, and he's terrified to go out and play his first game. And so Harry feels so bad for him that he takes his Liquid Luck and he pours it into his friend's cup and has him drink it. He's so excited. Ron is so excited. He just knows that now that he's got Liquid Luck in him, everything is going to go perfectly. He's so excited to get out there on the field and take the game. And of course he does. He's fantastic at his job. He wins the game for the whole team. He's celebrated afterwards. But then we learn, it turns out, Harry never poured the Liquid Luck in his cup. He just pretended to pour it in. And yet, Ron became that desired person. He believed that he had the power to do it. And that ended up expressing in his life. His feelings before he ever got on his broom was, I've got this. I feel so good. I'm so excited. And off he went. Those feelings tell you where your belief is. So pay attention to what your feelings are saying. What you want to do is get to a picture in your mind of the end result until you feel relaxed about it, or you don't even think about it at all anymore. It's a non-issue. It's a done deal kind of thing. Get to that picture until you actually are in this allowing state of consciousness, and change will come as your frequency, your vibration shifts to align with the change that you're seeking. That's how it begins, is shifting in your own beingness. So a faith keeper knows not only to notice feelings, but kind of manipulate thoughts and pictures until they generate the kinds of feelings that we need in order to live in abundance. So that means starting from an attitude of love for everyone involved, starting from an attitude of I am worthy of abundance, and so are you. Starting from a feeling of confidence that this is provided for. Starting from a feeling of gratitude and joy, just having this creative opportunity. Keep checking in with your feelings until you can actually see that your feelings agree with this desire of your heart. And now you are radiating, and you raised your consciousness, your energy, to the place where your spirit dwells, one with God. Everything you need from this point on, information, wisdom, guidance, resources, you're in line with, you're on the right path to. Just keep in mind that our path of abundance is an emotional path. But we have to make sure it's the positive emotion, because the negative emotion means we're going the other way. And it doesn't have to be a struggle. I think this is what Jesus was saying when he was talking in the book of Matthew. Walk with me and work with me and watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me. You'll learn to live freely and lightly. So this process of creation, of abundance, living in that realm, is about aligning with Spirit, not struggling against what is. And the thing is that the faith keeper knows this process we've been describing can be used against us just as it can be used for us. Darn. And how often do we do that? Because we can generate a negative picture, a negative feeling in our mind, and still use the law against ourselves and create what we don't want. So what Esther Hicks says about this on the screen, she says, sometimes even though you're asking for a specific desire, you're actually moving further from it. You think you're asking for what you do want, but your request is actually being made from your awareness of its absence. So an example of that is that you're seeking basically just to be able to pay your bills at the end of the month comfortably. And your thoughts about that are, haven't been able to so far, haven't really made enough money to be able to do it in the past, and now that prices are going up so high, it's really going to be hard. I sure wish that I had an easy, comfortable financial life, but you don't really expect it. So do you see how you're contradicting yourself? You have the desire, but you're contradicting it because you're moving into this energy of it's hard work, it's a struggle, there's only limited opportunity out there, not everybody can prosper. Or, I was raised in poverty and it's been a long line in my family of poverty. I don't expect to get out of it in my lifetime. I'm not even good with money. I can't handle money. I'm not lucky with money. Any of these sound familiar? Don't deserve it, not worthy of it. These are all beliefs that create more thoughts and more energy and more feelings that basically have just lined you up with what you don't want. I think I've talked about this once or twice before, so hopefully if you're regular here, you know this story well enough that you could be up here teaching it. The question is, do we do it? So our goal here is to stop looking at the problem and be able to move forward from it with a dream, a vision, a desire of what you want instead. And that's what a faith keeper of divine abundance knows. They know how to live in the feeling of abundance. They remember that the universe is designed to provide their good. They remember that the substance that I'm going to use to create my good is infinite, and that all I have to do is pour my thoughts into it and the law will take over and respond in like kind. The faith keeper is finding joy in the creative process, not resisting, not worrying about a shortage, but they're just moving through this process with love and with gratitude and with expectation. And as they do that for themselves, they're starting to seep into the collective consciousness. Please help us do that. Please help us shift where we are at in this country right now by making these changes. You want to be a faith keeper for abundance? Do you want to be able to not only manifest ease, the easy burden that Jesus talked about, or do you just want to keep pushing and resisting and struggling with what is? This is a choice, again, in consciousness that we make every day. But we can make it not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us, if we believe that. Let's speak this affirmation together up here on the screen. I am faith keeper for abundance. I am designed to create, and the universe is designed to provide. That's good news, right? So let's take that into some quiet time and see if we can't get there in our consciousness. This is our time where we use our powers of thought and imagination and feeling. So I'll just invite you to turn your thoughts away from the room that you're in point your focus inward to your heart. Take a breath and release any of the stress that you might have brought in with you today. Breathe in peace. Release tension. Now let Spirit breathe you. Letting your breath go back to its natural rhythm. Realize that your body is breathing and living because you dwell in a universe that gives life. The omnipresence of God gives life, and I allow. Imagine the night sky with all of its stars and planets, suns. They are proof of this loving, giving universe that from nothing came all that is. That which came and is now. The stars, this planet, my body, my belongings, all formed out of spiritual energy, which never ends. I see it falling all around me like golden snowflakes that fills heaven and earth, a substance ready to be formed that can never be depleted. Everything that I've used in the past, the chair that I'm sitting on now, that which I seek to create in the future, all formed from divine substance. Here at my beck and call, unlimited, willing. How good that feels. And I sense that as I hold thoughts in my heart, there is also this universal law ready to respond. As I believe, it retrieves. I don't need to know the details. I give thanks for this law, designed to provide my daily bread. What a relief. Now I hold in my mind something I desire. It might be very large, something that serves the masses. Or it might be very personal, something that supports me or a loved one. Take a moment now to think of what that desire is. Something that is for good and comes from good. Not because I'm afraid, not because I feel a shortage, but a desire for good, motivated by good. And as I behold that desire in my heart, I picture it already done. I see how I'm changed by it. I see how I live a more fulfilled life. I see the good that it brings, not just to me, but to others. And as I hold these pictures, I begin to feel good. I feel hopeful that it's on its way. I feel grateful that the universe is providing. I feel joyful in this creative process, that something is coming from nothing except the allness of God. That's exciting. It feels like freedom. I feel comfortable and generous and willing to be a presence of yes to the world around me. Knowing this divine law brings more of what I am. I stand in the truth of that and know that I am abundance. I am infinite good. I am an expression of love that brings things together for good. For I am a channel for a universe that seeks to supply with infinite substance. I am a radiant, attracting being for divine abundance. I become it, I experience it, and I express it for the world around me. And I am grateful. This is the truth of my being. And now I joyfully let it be. Amen.